Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. We got another Washington Commanders talk live stream, and I got my guy Rico from Street Scores on here to recap week one of the Washington Commanders training camp. First week of training camp, always super hyped about it. So I'm
I'm good.
excited
How
to
are
have
you,
Rico on.
man?
How you
I'm
doing, Rico?
so excited. I'm so happy that we just got football back. I mean, even across the league, but especially our Commanders. And this is a training camp where we're actually pretty optimistic about the season with realistic expectations.
Yep, for sure. And make sure you guys, I know you guys are all subscribed to Rico, but first link in the description, go ahead and sub him up. But yeah, man, first week and the first kind of 4 days are over. Nothing crazy happened, honestly, which is a good thing. You don't want to have any major injuries or anything like that. We didn't have anything like that. I guess the only thing that was really kind of out of the blue was AGG retiring. Quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll just hope for the best for him and everything he wants to do in the future, going back to further his education and everything. And I mean, I personally felt like he wasn't going to make the tight end room anyway. And so I guess it's good for him to go ahead and get ahead of whatever he wants to do in the future rather than waiting longer and delaying whatever he may end up doing with furthering his education, maybe going back to Liberty or wherever he may end up going. But yeah, I just felt like it was a long shot for him to make the team anyway. I mean, apparently he was making plays, but I mean, Curtis Hodges, Samus Reyes, and Armani Rogers, I've been hearing have been making even more plays. So I think it's a really competitive tight end group. Definitely my favorite position to keep an eye on throughout this training camp process for sure. And yeah, man, I think Samus Reyes, I feel like receiving wise, he's raw enough to where you're like, maybe he won't make the team, but I think people forget he also contributes on special teams quite a bit. And when it comes to that last roster spot of any position group, you're competing against the last person of the safety group, the last person of the cornerback group, the last receiver, last running back, and things like that. So it's never, I mean, of course you're competing against other tight ends in Antonio Gandy Golden's case, but he was also competing against the other guys that can contribute on special teams. Because I mean, there are a lot of guys that you may not necessarily remember can contribute on special teams very well. You have Samus Reyes, you have Derek Forrest, who's basically taking over what DeShazer ever did, being the first guy in line in front of Tressway on punts. You have Cam Sims. People forget Cam Sims is a really good special teams player. And then Trey Apke, who you don't really expect to actually contribute anything on defense. He's a really good special teams player as well. So that's where those last few spots are going to come from. And we're still trying to figure out who's going to be our starting returner. Because right now, Jahan Dodson looks like an excellent returner, but is it worth risking him getting hurt on a punt return or a random kick return when you can have somebody else do that? And then now you've lost Jahan Dodson as a receiver. And as of right now, it looks like it's him and Terry McLaurin neck and neck, who's the best receiver on the team. So, yeah, I think those last few spots.
All right, Rico, sorry about that.
Yeah, I was trying to keep it going for you. I was just trying to make it like it was on purpose.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know what happened. My computer's bugging right now, but I'm on my phone until it works out. But yeah, so tight end group, definitely intriguing for sure. I heard you talking about Samus Reyes. It was kind of like going in and out of my mind right there. But yeah, AGG kind of out of the blue, like you said, and going to further his education and wish nothing but the best for him. And who knows, maybe in a couple years he decides to make a comeback. I doubt it, but we'll see. But this tight end room, I think it has a lot of potential with Cole Turner, John Bates, and even some of the other guys, mentors, and Samus Reyes, Curtis Hodges has been making some splashes as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see what this group can do. So I think we're all going to be making these videos about kind of guys that have impressed and guys that haven't impressed. But so far, what are some guys that have impressed for you through training camp? And what's up, Justin, Ronald? I appreciate you guys coming through.
Well, there's already some obvious ones like Jahan Dodson. I mean, I guess when we drafted him, it may not have been as obvious back then, but based on what we've seen in rookie mini camps, OTAs, and then mandatory mini camps, we kind of expected him to come in here and ball out. but I mean, he's been making plays. I mean, you can go position group by position group. It's a lot of guys standing out. One group I'm surprised about is the secondary and how well they're playing. Because, I mean, granted, the receivers are playing very well, and you can obviously see that. But you can also see that the secondary is playing well even while the receivers are playing well. It just looks like it's a competitive group rather than both groups are bad. It looks like both groups are just really good. I mean, because there are some plays where it's a perfect pass, receiver running the right route, making the great catch, but the DB is right on them. I mean, literally like 2 inches away from it being a pass deflection, or even in Kendall Fuller's case, I think it was against Dodson. No, it was Deandre Brown, where it should have been an interception, and then Deandre Brown just took it away. So it's just they're both battling out. I love how competitive training camp is right now.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I think William Jackson today said like he's feeling super, super confident. And yeah, I think we've heard a bunch of like big plays from the secondary, even guys like Christian Holmes, Corn Elder making big plays. Like, I think that those guys both could possibly make the roster. Only thing is, I think that they could keep let's say they keep 5 cornerbacks. Maybe they go the big 3 with Benjamin St. Juste, William Jackson III, and Kendall Fuller. And then after that, they'll keep probably Christian Holmes. So that's 4 right there. And then they'll keep 1 more. But, like, realistically, Corn Elder, I don't think another team's going to claim him off of waivers. So, like, you can realistically keep him or, just let him go, cut him, and then eventually bring him back onto the roster once you make some other moves. So, but, yeah, I'm liking what, we're seeing from these from the secondary. Derek Forrest as well. Like, he's one of my sleepers. I think he's going to be really, really good for them. Like, I was excited to see what he could do last year, and then he had that kind of hip injury, was out for the first 10 weeks of the season. Really didn't get to see much from him, but I remember that Giants game, like, you could kind of see a few flashes from him, like the burst on some of those blitzes he had. Like, you could see, like, he has some of those traits that you want, and I'm excited to see, like, what he does in this defense, what roles he's going to play, because it's not just going to be one, in my opinion. So what do you kind of envision for Derek Forrest this year?
Well, first of all, I think he's going to be a strong special teams contributor, which is why his roster spot is certainly safe, because now, DeShazer Everett has been the one that's directly in front of Tressway on punts for the past few years now. Now that DeShazer Everett's gone, Derek Forrest is taking that over. So there's a certain floor to Derek Forrest just special teams wise already. And that's the reason why we drafted him a couple of years ago, because he's supposed to be an elite special teams player. But then on top of that, I mean, apparently he's making plays in coverage. And that was my biggest worry, even though he's an elite athlete, taking the wrong angles, having the right instincts and awareness and run fits. And apparently, I think it was today in some red zone reps, he had 2 run stops, 2 really impressive run stops. So it sounds like he's really stepping up and improving on a lot of the weaknesses that he had.
Yep, for sure. And yeah, I mean, him and Percy Butler, Derek Forrest and Percy Butler are going to be competing for that Buffalo nickel, or even, some of those other safety positions. I would interested to see like what you think, but like, I think Derek Forrest in terms of strong safety and free safety, he's probably more of a strong safety. And then Percy Butler's more of a free safety, but like, they're both pretty versatile. Do you think that like at any point this season, maybe one of those 2 could overtake Bobby McCain, or maybe cause Cam Curl to more play the Buffalo nickel at times and then have one of those guys play a strong safety? And what's up, Philip?
As of today, because it's really complicated, it's really open-ended, it can end up being any type of scenario. If I had to take a guess, I think Percy Butler will eventually overtake Bobby McCain for the starting free safety spot. But I mean, right now, I think it's going to be really difficult, because apparently Bobby McCain and Cameron Curl have this newfound chemistry and communication that it took them a while to finally get that towards the end of last season. So it's going to be a while before Percy Butler dethrones him. But I remember hearing Logan Paulson say something to the extent of, when Percy Butler knows what's going on, he looks like the fastest player in our secondary. So it's going to be hard to keep that off the field. Like he said, you can always use more speed. And then Derek Forrest, I feel like he's more so what you're looking for in a Buffalo nickel position. Granted, technically anybody can play the Buffalo nickel position. You got Benjamin St. Juste, who's not necessarily a run defender, but he's going to be on the field a lot as a regular corner nickel. But I think Derek Forrest fits the mold of what they mean by like a Landon Collins like a player, more than like a Percy Butler, who, honestly, I feel like he's like a baby Daxton Hill, maybe with even a little bit more athleticism. And so you can have him in the nickel, but I don't really see him stepping up and stopping Derrick Henry when we play the Titans and things like that. I think that would be more so suited for Derek Forrest.
Yep, for sure. What's up, King Sean? Yeah, I think also Bob McCain a little bit overhated last year. Like, I think the first 5 to 6 games, maybe 7, 8 games, he was awful. Like, he was really, really bad. But like the second half of the season, like, he wasn't a Pro Bowler, but he was solid. He was okay to a little bit above average. And I think a lot of fans were saying he was terrible, one of the worst free safeties in the league in the second half of the year. And I just don't agree with that. Yes, he could have gotten a lot more picks than he had, but I think that once they figured out which guys were supposed to play where, which took way too long, Bob McCain started to play better. And once he got more used to the defense, he started to play better. So I think this year, the secondary is going to play a lot better just because there's more continuity. Last year, you had, William Jackson III as a new guy. You had Bob McCain as a new guy. In terms of other pieces on the defense, Jamin Davis as a new guy. And also, it was the second year of the defense as well. So, like, a lot of new pieces, and all those guys were also, like, even Kendall Fuller and the guys that were already playing there before had to adjust to playing with William Jackson. And also Benjamin St. Juste was new as well. So, I think this year, second or third year for some of these guys in the defense, and second year basically with this same defense. Like, there's a few small differences, like, Fedarian Mathis versus some of those other guys, Tim Settle, Matt Ioannidis, but for the most part, it's basically the same defense. So I think they're going to definitely be better. The question is, how much better will they be in 2021? What's up, Sway Run? Appreciate you coming through.
I agree. And to add to the Bob McCain point, like, I think fans overreact too negatively on the first 8 weeks, like you said, but then also some fans overreact too positively to the 2 interceptions he had against my Georgia Bulldog, Jake Fromm, in the Giants game. I think there's a nice middle. I think the 4-game win streak is the best way to look at our secondary, especially. Maybe not our entire team, but the secondary, I think that 4-game win streak is a good look because you saw William Jackson settling in, taking away a third of the field and barely getting thrown towards after a certain point. And you also saw the guys on the back end communicating better. It wasn't like the Bucks game, the first Giants game, the Falcons game, where guys are just wide open, and it's not even because they beat their man. It was just nobody knew who was supposed to cover them at all. Miscommunication, all types of stuff like that. So I feel like it's hard to look at the 4-game win streak and say this is what we're always going to be, because we did beat some good teams, some playoff caliber teams. But I think it is a realistic view of at least what the secondary should look like going forward.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And like William Jackson III, he has to play better this year. Like, he was, we had a lot higher expectations for him than what he produced last year, struggled with injuries, and then just like a lot of penalties, like either pass interference or just 15-plus yard penalties. He had a ton of those. And again, first year in the system, I get that. So he's automatically going to be a little bit better, I hope, just because of being in that system another year. But I also hope that, he gets adjusted a little bit more to the zone. And I think he will be better, but he has to be a lot better. He has to be, what we paid him to be, and that's one of the better corners in the NFL. And we know what we're going to get from Kendall Fuller. We know he's not necessarily an elite corner, but he's a good cornerback. We know what we're going to get from him. And then I'm intrigued by Benjamin St. Juste, like him in the slot. He is going to, I think, play pretty solid for them. And I mean, what do you think about Benjamin St. Juste? Do you think he will start in the slot for them?
I'm really excited about him, and I believe so. I still, just based off of what I've seen, I prefer him as an outside corner. But if you do want your three best corners on the field at any given point in time, Benjamin St-Juste in the slot does make the most sense. But I'm not necessarily worried about him in coverage because we've seen he can cover our tight ends, he can cover Jahan, he can cover literally any mode of receiver, running back out of the backfield. So I'm not worried about coverage. My thing is the what will determine how much he plays will be how he can handle run defense. If he can, I mean, we haven't seen pads yet. We'll see pads this week coming up. And if he can handle run defense, if he can make tackles, if he can deal with getting rid of offensive linemen, or at least running around them quickly enough and diagnosing run plays, then he'll be on the field a lot. Otherwise, he'll probably just be restricted to like only obvious coverage downs or maybe even first downs. We'll see. But I'm not worried about his coverage at all. Again, I prefer him outside, but it looks like he's been doing really well in the slot.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's more of an outside corner. I mean, he's got that length. I think he's like 6'3", I believe, around that height. Yeah, his arms are long as well. Like he's built to be an outside corner, but out of necessity, like we have no one in the slot. Like it's Danny Johnson is backup. Like I do not want him to start. Like he's a backup at best. He's not really a starter, in my opinion. So that's why I think you put Benjamin St-Juste in the slot right now, and then hey, if something happens, if an injury happens to Kendall Fuller, William Jackson, okay, you put him on the outside or whatever. But yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of potential. Like I can't remember what stat it was from the combine. I think it was his 3-cone drill, which was really high, like really good time, and that usually correlates to cornerbacks. Like he's got that potential, and he's just got to stay healthy. Like the concussions, I know we didn't have any before. And it's really a lot of times it's unlucky. So I'm hoping nothing happens. But we all know with these guys, every concussion they get, the easier it is to get the next one and the harder it is to recover from the next one. So I'm hoping he can stay healthy. Like that should be his main goal this year. Stay healthy through the 16 games and be a solid player for the Commanders. So now on to some of the guys, because we talked a lot about on defense. What are maybe a couple guys that impressed you on the offense?
Man, I mean, I don't even know where we start. I mean, we've already talked about the tight end group. I can go more in depth on that because, I mean, there's so many guys we can talk about. I don't even want to take your answer. And so I'm going to start with the tight ends. And Cole Turner looks as advertised. He looks better than a 5th-round pick. I mean, he's catching everything thrown towards him, whether it's contested. And one of the things that I noticed that I really like is that he's caught passes from Carson Wentz and Taylor Heinicke. So, I mean, depending on what goes on with Carson Wentz or whatever, we know Cole Turner is always going to produce no matter who's in that quarterback. It doesn't matter what the attributes or the strengths or weaknesses of the quarterback is. Cole Turner will be a dependable target at the very least in the red zone. And then Samus Reyes, I mean, him and John Bates are our best blocking tight ends. And apparently he made 2 catches within, I think, a 3-play situation today, or 3 catches in like a 5-play situation, something like that. So it sounds like his hands are getting better because remember in the preseason he was catching everything, but it took him 5 seconds to bobble it around and juggle it around before he got it. And so if he can fix that and still be one of our best blocking tight ends, I think he's going to make an instant impact. And then Curtis Hodges, man, how do you defend 6'8"? I saw something about him making a double contested catch. It was 2 guys near him, and he just went up and got it. The other guys didn't even have a chance. Because how do you? I mean, unless you're at least 6'5" as a corner, how can you compete with a 6'8" guy once it's in the air? So it's just, we have so many guys that are so good at certain things. If we can get those guys to become more well-rounded, I think we can have an elite tight end group. But as of right now, we have like 4 or 5 guys that are really good at like 1 or 2 things.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit about Cole Turner because like he is almost like he's a positionless player in terms of like because like he's almost a receiver. Like he played receiver before and he's not too much of a blocker. So like he's going to be a mismatch for sure. And like you can line him up in the slot sometimes on the outside, occasionally. Like he's in between a tight end and a receiver, kind of like Mike Gesicki out of Penn State, and now he's playing with the Dolphins. Like I think there was a couple comparisons for him, and Mike Gesicki. So what do you think about that and where he'll be lining up?
No, I definitely agree. I think, because like Mike Gesicki's basically like a big slot receiver right now, and Cole Turner probably will start out as that. But I think ultimately, just based on his size, and so far what I've heard from like, Logan Paulson, who of course an ex-tight end and pays deep attention to tight ends, everybody kind of feels like Cole Turner has the potential to be a better blocker, whereas Mike Gesicki, it is kind of what it is as far as blocking for him, just because of his lack of size, lack of strength. Cole Turner is more so just technique, keeping your pad level low, winning the leverage battle. And he can end up actually becoming a pretty good blocker. I don't think he'll ever be John Bates or Samus Reyes ever, but he can maybe become, as decent as like a Logan Thomas. And then, like you said, with him being such a mismatch nightmare in the receiving room, excluding all of the really raw guys that are, virtually unplayable on offense, especially as a receiving target, so including Curtis Hodges and Armani Rogers, where there's still big question marks, and of course Samus Reyes. He right now has our highest receiving ceiling. Between him, John Bates, and Logan Thomas, Cole Turner is and should be the better receiver. So I'm really excited to see what he can do, because if he brings that and then adds a little bit of blocking, it's going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I really like how this tight end room is looking, because you got Logan Thomas, who's the vet, who, and I'm lagging right here, but he's the really solid, tight end there, top 10, I believe, when he's healthy. A couple years ago, played really solid in his first year playing starting at the position. And then you got John Bates, already in his rookie year, pretty close to an elite blocker, one of the better blocking tight ends in the NFL. And then you got Cole Turner, who's and back to John Bates real quick. He was still a solid pass catcher. Like the second half of the year, he was really, really solid. Like almost every pass they threw to him, he caught it. Like that was really, really impressive. Like I think at one point it was like 17 out of the 18 targets he caught. So I think people, were sleeping on John Bates last year. And I think, now they kind of know how good he is. And then Cole Turner is kind of like the opposite of that in a sense, just not as good as a blocker as John Bates is a pass catcher, in my opinion, but he excels more as a pass catcher. So I like the blend of those guys. And then the rest of the guys, you have some guys with potential as well on the back end of the roster. So I definitely think Cole Turner is impressed. I'm going to go with another guy. Obvious answer is Jahan Dodson. He's been impressing people for a long time, right? Or for minicamp, OTAs, all that stuff. So that's a cop-out answer. That's easy. But the other guy, I would say maybe Deandre Brown's a little bit of a sleeper, but I've heard some like good things from him. Like at least every day I've heard him make like one or two big plays. Like I think today he had one or two touchdowns. The day before he had that big play where he grabbed it from Kendall Fuller and scored the touchdown or whatever big, gain. So I'm liking what I'm hearing from, Deandre Brown, and I'm not expecting Deandre Brown to go out there and get you 800 plus yards, because I think that, I would love that. And, maybe it's slightly possible. I just don't think it's realistic. I think, he had like 150 yards last year. Let's go from 150 to anywhere from 400 to 600. I think that's a really solid jump if you're considering that he's the fourth option on the team. Like that would be really, really good. And then in year 3, that's when you're like, okay, take that next step, go to 600 to 800, really depending on how the receiving core is going. Maybe if Deandre plays really well this year, or knock on wood, hope it doesn't happen. But if like Curtis Samuel's out for a while this year for some reason, and Deandre Brown impresses, well, they could probably get out of the Curtis Samuel contract and then have Deandre Brown as the number 3. So I'm excited to see what Deandre Brown can do for sure. Let's see. Philip B really appreciates the $10 donation. He says, I'm sure you guys mentioned it, but the franchise doing this raffle BS for training camp, or this raffle BS for training camp is trash. This is why other fans roast us all the time. And I totally agree with this. I put this out on Twitter because I wanted to go to training camp this year bad, because usually it doesn't line up with my trap. Like usually we go to a specific place every year for about a month. This year was shorter, so I was able to go. I got back today, and the next couple weeks would have been free to go to training camp. But I didn't get any of the raffle. I didn't get. Me and a couple friends did it. None of us got it. And then you see the other day, Thursday, a work day, no one went besides like 20 to 50, like maybe 30 people went. And like, there's a lot of people that really wanted to go, or maybe kids, kids that are in school, high school, college that have time off right now that could have went and, they didn't because there's a raffle and guys that, randomly put, I'm going to go, enter myself in the raffle. We'll see what happens. And they just don't end up going. So I totally agree with you, Philip. It's really disappointing. And I don't know, the good thing about them, they've kind of been like, they admit their mistakes usually, like, with the crest with the, 10 players that they're voting in for the decade. So it's kind of late, but maybe they could still change that because like the fan base has not been happy about it. And then, that tweet from Nikki Javala made the rounds. It went viral for how little fans were there. So I think it was a big fail for them. You got guys like Hog Farmer Chris Bryant, who's there every single event, and he wasn't there. He wasn't there until I think today or Friday was his first day. Like, that cannot be happening, guys. That cannot be happening. And I love Jason Wright, but I think that was a mistake in my opinion. And I know they have limits on how many people they can have, but I just don't think the raffle was a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a weird situation because I mean, there's quite a bit of teams that aren't allowing fans like at all, I believe. But like, yeah, I just don't like the way they're going about the raffle because, like you said, there's some people that don't really care that much that are just and they end up winning it and then not going. Where there's fans that really want to go that aren't getting a chance to go. And so, yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a different way to go about it. And I'm not exactly sure about the logistics. I don't exactly know why is so limited. Like what? Because even when you look at the picture, there's so much space. So I don't know why they're limiting the tickets to such a small amount when there's just so much open room and space.
Yeah, I think it was something about parking. I don't know, but they could have probably found a way to get more people in there. It is what it is, but I don't know. Also, I think the way they did it, I forgot what it was, but I think it's like you sign up and if you win, you get 4 tickets. So like let's say I want a ticket, but I just want one and I get it. Well, then I got 3 extra tickets and couldn't do anything with them. I think that's how I'm not 100% sure how it went. But that's definitely something that I think next year they got to work on. Maybe if it's the location specifically, then maybe find a way where you can get more people there. But yeah, and if it's a parking issue, like you can have a certain amount of people that get in with, whatever they can get parking passes, and then the rest of the people they've got to get there by Uber or whatever. And there will be people that go. I think that is something that they can do. But yeah, it is what it is at this point. I just really wish I could have gone because like Ashburn is much closer than Richmond for me, so it would have been, easy to go to. It is what it is, though. Appreciate the donation, Philip, and I totally agree. What's up, Door Gunner? But yeah, I know you're in Atlanta, so you wouldn't go probably anyways, but still.
Yeah, no, but I just always want whatever's best for the fan base. Whatever the fan base wants, like when it comes to wherever the new stadium's gonna be and things like this, I just want it to work out perfectly for everybody. And who knows? I mean, maybe there will be a time in the near future where I am able to go and find a time to go, but hopefully they have this situation fixed by then.
Yep. And Gus Bus was saying he was, possibly giving away his ticket. Like FedEx, like my biggest problem with FedEx really isn't even the stadium because obviously the stadium isn't great. It's the location. Like it takes so long. I gotta go by metro for like an hour and a half to get there. And then you gotta walk another 15 minutes. And then if you decide to go by car, it's a little shorter, but then you gotta pay like whatever it is, $50 for parking. So the location is my biggest gripe with FedEx. And the stadium itself isn't great, of course. Everyone's seen pictures and videos of stuff. But like my biggest issue is the location, how hard it is to get there for a lot of people. Let's see. Dorgana says book my flight for opening day. Yeah. Hey, if you're gonna go, I feel like the best time to go to NFL games is like first 2 months, because after that it gets super, super cold, and it's like I'd rather just be watching on my couch, get my snacks here, hot cocoa,
Same
whatever it is,
here.
But
Same
the
here.
first few weeks of the season, I like going to that. Or of course, if it's a huge, huge game, like you got to go sometimes, like week 18 this year against Dallas, if that's a big game. Like, of course, there's people who I would love to go to that game for sure. Let's see. I'm down in Florida, and I would have taken leave to go at least for a day or two. Yeah, I mean, I definitely would have gone if I could have. But yeah, not a lot of people got those raffle tickets, so definitely disappointing for sure. Let's see, Jairus' Corner. Appreciate you coming through. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out Jairus. Got a great Washington Commanders channel right there. So we went through some of the guys that have been playing well. Let's see, any other guys that jump out to you?
I think Brian Robinson's ability to contribute in the passing game is going to be huge for us. Mostly just because you want your running backs to be well-rounded just in general. But also, like, the way our offense will be set up when Brian Robinson steps on the field, that doesn't automatically mean we're about to run in between the A gap or the B gap. He can run outside. He can catch a pass out of the backfield. Hopefully he improves as a pass blocker. So I like the fact that a lot of our running backs are versatile enough to where they can be on a first, second, third down, whatever situation, and it doesn't automatically just project to defense is what we're about to do. You bring Brian Robinson on the field, they don't just immediately stack 8 in the box. They still got to worry, maybe he'll catch a pass out of the backfield, which will allow him to do what he does best, which is go through the A gap and B gap. But he has to also present other threats as well to allow him to take advantage of his biggest strengths.
Yeah, for sure. Brian Robinson, heard some good things about him too, even in the clips. Like, you can tell he's got good balance. He's got, good vision as well. And I mean, he is going to be a very, very good insurance policy for the Commanders, because Gibson is just, like, let's keep it real. He's injury prone. Like, I just don't like the hamstring injury for me, out of like, it's almost a 0 out of 10 in terms of like my concern about the injury, but it's just like another one of those, okay, man, another time he gets hurt, like so many, and he plays through it, which like is great. But like, he had like what, 8 different injuries, not 8, but like 5 different injuries last year, like a toe injury, hip, shoulder, shin, the virus,
yeah.
So many injuries. And then this hamstring, like, he just gets hurt so much. That's my biggest concern with him. And Brian Robinson helps in 2 ways, because he can first, get that workload a little bit lower for Gibson, but also if Gibson does get hurt, then you got a guy that can, if needed, get you 15 to 25 carries. McKissick, I'm sorry, he can't do that. And Patterson, like, he maybe could, but like, you don't necessarily want him to be, getting 15 to 25 carries, because your offense isn't going to be as good as it is with Robinson doing it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I'm still waiting to see how much I love him in the 3rd round, but him as a player, I'm really happy that we got him. And like you said, mostly because if Antonio Gibson, with it, even though he does fight through injuries, he does accumulate them quite a bit. And so if we need a guy to step in and be that guy, like you said, to get 15, 20 carries any given game, Brian Robinson can be that guy. We got to see who they pick. Because I mean, I remember Jonathan Williams looked pretty good at the end of last season, and then I'm just now starting to hear Jared Patterson get some snaps at a kick return. So we'll see who ends up becoming that 4th running back if they end up keeping them. Maybe they just put both of them on the practice squad, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I was kind of thinking for Brian Robinson, like, I was thinking 5th round would be great to get him.
Yeah, exactly.
But they got him in the 3rd. They got him at the end of the 3rd, so kind of like early 4th, because it was a comp pick. It was a comp 3rd. I think it was a little early, but we'll see how he does. He's got good potential. Excited to see what he can do. So you talk about kick returner. If you had to guess today, who is the kick returner? Who is the punt returner?
Punt returner wise, I think it's safest to assume Alex Erickson, but I'm rooting for the other guys, the athletic, raw, we don't know what they're going to do guys, because we already know who Alex Erickson is. He's safe. He's pretty good. He's decent. If one of those guys gets chosen over Alex Erickson, that means those guys are better than him. Rather than, if we pick Alex Erickson, that means those other guys are too raw to play. That just means we just have a higher caliber of punt returner. Plus, those guys are more exciting. Alex Erickson is more safe. Hopefully, like a Jaquez Ezzard can provide some of that Deandre Carter explosion to the punt return game. And then kickoff return, I mean, I liked what I saw from Jared Patterson last season. I'm not sure if they're going to pick him. It's really hard to guess right now because you even have Danny Johnson is like a super reserve kick returner if you need him to, but he hasn't even been getting kick return snaps yet. It's been Kyrick McGowan, Alex Erickson, Dax Milne, of course, and then most notably Jahan Dodson. I don't know if they're going to use him there, but he looks really good back there. He looks like one of our better punt and kick returners right now, honestly.
Yeah, and I think they're going to use him as a spot guy, kind of like Santana at times. We're like, okay, you need a big play. You need a really good field position. Let's go ahead and give it to Jahan. Like, he'll probably line up there maybe 20 times, 15 times in the season and maybe return it like 5-6 times. We'll see. And then I think it's between Alex Erickson and Dax Milne. I mean, Alex Erickson as a kick returner, you look at the stats, like he had a few years where at least 1 year where he averaged 28.5 yards per kick return. You think about that. That is insane. Like that means basically when he's kicking it out or when he's returning, you're basically starting like at the 29, 30 yard line. Because there's sometimes even kicks that get at the 1 or 2. And yeah, that's really, really impressive there. And he's had some good seasons as a punt returner. Honestly, I value as a punt returner, like just don't fumble. Do not be Steven Sims. And, it is what it is. Like, DeAndre Carter last year, I think DeAndre Carter was a little bit overrated as a punt returner. He was a great kick returner, but as a punt returner, like he bobbled it a little bit too much for me at times. Like he ran it out when he shouldn't have, or he let it go when he shouldn't have. But I think Dax Milne and Alex Erickson are kind of both of those safer guys, especially as punt returners. And, Dax Milne, though, in my opinion, gives you a little bit more upside at that receiver position than Alex Erickson does. Dax Milne doesn't have a ton of upside, but like he could be an okay rotational receiver for you. Alex Erickson is just a returner. And, maybe if a couple guys are down, then he can be your, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 targets in that game. But like, I think Dax Milne has a little bit more upside, and I'm excited to see. I really can't talk too much about Jaquez Ezzard, Kyrick McGowan, and some of those other guys. Seen some highlights from them. I really haven't seen, many clips from them in training camp. So in the preseason, I'll be excited to see those guys hopefully get some run, as a punt return and kick return. And then I can kind of give my opinion because, definitely would be, nice if they could keep one of those guys because those guys seem like they have more juice in terms of, what they can do as a kick returner. And yeah, Dark Gunner says Dax out there catching punts and Cougars. Well, Dax wasn't the one to catch the Cougar. That was Zach, but yeah.
Technically, yeah.
But yeah, I love the joke. I think though the fans I forgot what they were chanting, but they were chanting something at Dax Milne.
Oh, Mr. Steal Your Girl. They were chanting Mr. Steal Your Girl. The Trey song.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Zach Selby, shout out Zach Selby. I mean, the guy posts like every single play that happened, and like Dax Milne's been getting some really good. Like I think every day is like, oh, Dax Milne made another really nice catch. So like he has a chance to make it a definitely more upside as a receiver than Alex Erickson. And he's never going to be anything special, but like he could be a good backup slot guy, maybe like an Adam Humphries. So let's see. David DC, really, really appreciate the $10 donation. Says you both are doing outstanding work with your own styles to success. How is Jamin Davis doing this training camp? Davis' success will be important to our linebacker play this year. Appreciate that. So I've kind of seen like mixed things on Jamin Davis. Like there's been times where I think like I love listening to Kimes podcast because he kind of like what he'll do is he'll watch a few players specifically every day, and then he'll be like give you really in-depth analysis of like, oh, what did this guy do? And Kime watches a ton of film. Like out of all the beat reporters, I think Kime knows the most in terms of like his actual football knowledge and how much he studies. He does a lot of good work there. Too. But Who?
I say he's also been here the longest too, at least one of the longest.
28 years, I think, something like that, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how like there was one time where like Jamin Davis, I forgot what it was, but like he messed up something pretty obvious. Like I think it was something where like it was man, I think it was man, but he thought it was zone, something like that, where like there was a motion you could like easily tell, but he didn't, and then they ended up getting a big gain on that play. I think Jaden McKissick beat him on that play. I forgot what it was. But then I heard a play today. JP Finley said like he, Jamin Davis read the play really well. And then like if they actually were in a game, he would have blown up Jahan Dodson on a screen pass. So like today I heard a couple of good things from Jamin Davis. I also heard another time where he got his hand on the ball, almost made the pick, but didn't. So I think with Jamin Davis, it's going to really be hard to tell. And with linebackers especially, like, you can't tell with no pads on. You really can't.
Exactly.
Like if you see some things that are really concerning, then you can tell. But I think these sessions you can more take like things for like receivers, cornerbacks. Like I think this session with no pads is more important for them. But the linemen and linebackers, I think it's a little bit less important. So I think, but heard some mixed reviews on Jamin Davis, but I think next week's going to be important once they put the pads on. But what have you heard from, about Jamin Davis so far?
Yeah, I've pretty much heard the same things you have. Basically, the general theme is he's good in space. He's good in coverage. He's improving. And you can see some better instincts. But like you said, I mean, we're going to have to see what he can do in pads. Can he block shed against offensive linemen? Is he going to be good in his run fits and things like that?
Yep, for sure. Appreciate that donation, Dave. And yeah, Jamin Davis, I talked about it in my video today. Jamin Davis, he is very, very important to the Washington Commanders' success this year because the defense, for the most part, is the same. And there's obviously, I think a lot of the players are going to be slightly better. But Jamin Davis was not good last year, and he's going to be playing close to 100% of the snaps. So if he's significantly better, that's going to help the defense out a ton. And also, the defense, the linebacking core isn't great. So I still really think they need to add a linebacker. Like, think about it. You're one snap away from playing David Mayo 100% of the snaps, or what even Khalid Hudson. Like, I don't like that. I mean, I don't know about you, Rico, but like I do not like that at all.
I'm scared too, man. I am very afraid of that. Not just playing at all, but 100% of snaps is crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And appreciate that donation, Dave and DC. Luck, appreciate the $5 donation. Yo, Rico, I just got off the phone with him. He said, can you call him as soon as you get off the live? It's important.
Wait, who's him? I'm lost. I'm lost, but definitely appreciate the donation. Thank you for donating to Pedro for sure.
Yeah, appreciate the donation. Yeah, just type in the chat who is him. But yeah,
please.
Appreciate that. Wahan Bell, sorry. I was reading DeJuan Neal, like the cornerback of the Commanders.
Oh yeah.
Close. Looking like the main character in Mafia 1. And I don't even know who that is, but let me see. But appreciate that donation. And yeah, I thought your name was DeJuan Neal for a second, but yeah, appreciate that donation. So what were we talking about before? We were talking about Jamin Davis, right?
Jamin Davis, yeah, Jamin Davis.
Okay, yeah. So now I kind of want to mention what are some guys that you think either disappointing or you really haven't heard much about them and you kind of were expecting a little bit from them. Any guys come to mind?
Well, for me, I mean, Armani Rogers in the tight end group is my guy. And literally the only time I've ever heard his name mentioned was when Montez Sweat beat him really easily on a play and was yelling out, "Don't effing put it, how dare y'all put an effing tight end on me." So I want to hear and see more from him, of course. And then, like you said, I mean, granted, it's not the time to see what offensive linemen are doing, but I do want to hear more and see more about what's going on with the offensive line. Granted, we know the moving pieces, who's starting, who's playing with the second team and things like that, who's at guard, who's at center, but I haven't really heard much about who looks the best. And also, I want to hear more about Fadarian Mathis. He's our second-round pick, And I haven't heard bad things, but also really haven't heard good things. I've heard he's batted down a couple of passes, but I don't really know what's going on for Darian Mathis. I wish we would get more coverage on him. So that's not necessarily a disappointment on him, even though I think if he were balling out, if he looked like the next coming of Jonathan Allen, we probably would hear more of him. But I wish I knew more about what was going on with those set few players.
Yeah, and I forgot one guy that has been impressing is Montez Sweat, and that's kind of been a common theme the last couple off seasons. But like he's been in the backfield a ton. I think this is the year he gets 10 plus sacks. I really think so, especially with Chase Young out for the first couple weeks. I forgot to talk about that. But Chase Young going to be out, so like he's going to have to step up. So kind of your thoughts on Chase Young being out for I mean, it's not like confirmed, but basically unless he has like a crazy recovery that they're not expecting, he's going to be out for week 1, probably week 2 as well, maybe week 3 or week 4. So what are you kind of thinking about that?
I mean, if there were any time that we could afford to lose him, these first 4 weeks would be the best time, even though a lot of us keep saying it, not just me, but technically there are no easy wins. I mean, granted, we're looking at the Jaguars, Lions, and even the Bears, I believe like week 5 or something like that, as like those are must-win games, of course, but they're not going to be easy. So we would love to have Chase Young, but for me, I prefer to try to go out there without Chase Young and see if we can beat those teams rather than risking bringing him back too early. And now we've lost them for the rest of the season, and we still haven't played the Cowboys twice. We still got to play the Browns and all of these other really good teams, the Packers. I prefer to just be patient and be overly cautious, if anything, because I think we can survive.
Yep. I definitely agree. I mean, the thing is, all these teams, like their fans and coach, whatever, they feel like Washington's the easy win. So like we can't definitely be going into the game thinking it's easy. But saying that, we should beat the Jaguars and the Lions. Like no doubt. I mean, we have to win 2 of those. But if we somehow go 0-2, like I don't know, like that's just gonna be terrible. And I forgot to talk about this as well. Ron and company better get off to a good start. Like the last 2 years, it's been pathetic how slow, how bad they were to start the season, how long it took them to make adjustments that fans were saying for a year. These guys not only didn't make them before the season, still waited like 4 weeks, 5 weeks into the season to make the changes. Like Jack Del Rio, like he's got to be better this year. Like he was better the last half of the year, or that 4-game win streak, and then obviously, he couldn't do much after that because they were just gutted with injuries and the linebackers. But like they need to get off to a better start on defense, offense, everything. Make quicker adjustments because what was it last year? What did they start? I can't remember, but not good the last year. And the year before, I think they were 2-7. So, they've got to be better. Like I'm not expecting like 4-0 would be amazing, but like if they can go 3-1, like that would be really, really good. Or just not like 1-3, like 2-4, like they've gotten the last couple of years.
No, I definitely agree. We have to start off hot because that's been one of the biggest weaknesses to Ron Rivera's coaching era with the Washington Commanders so far, Washington football team, all of that. One of the biggest weaknesses he's had so far is our lack of good starts. I mean, whether easy opponents, difficult opponents, we just don't start off well. And last year we happened to go against some really good opponents in the beginning, but the Chargers, even as good of a team as they were really good. We were right there. We just couldn't stop third downs. And I just feel like you allow that many third downs to be completed, there had to have been at least some adjustment you could have made to fix that. And so it's just like we got to get it together. It's not just Ron Rivera, it's everybody. We need to definitely, I completely agree. We have to start out hotter because we just keep having these seasons where we start off terribly and then we try to go on this win streak near the end and it's just barely enough or not enough.
Yeah, I agree. And like Gibson also cost us in that game too. He cost us a touchdown or more because, he was at the 3-yard line, fumbles, they get a touchdown on the next play. So not only do we lose those 7 points, but also the possibility of getting more points. So like that was really unfortunate. And yeah, Philip B, do what he said. Smash that like button. Also subscribe if you guys are new on the road to 9K. And of course, subscribe to Rico. What are you on the road to now? 13K?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We on the way.
To 13 or 14?
13. Yes, sir.
All right, 13. So help Rico get there. He's been growing like crazy the last few months. So help
Thank
him
you.
get there to 13.
Man, we're all doing really well. And that's why us winning would be so great because it's just going to do better for everybody.
Yeah, it's crazy because like the time I'm getting the most views or the most excitement on this channel is the off season, and then I'll get like periods during the season where like let's say 2020, that last half of the season, like that was crazy the amount of like views and excitement I was getting, and then when they're terrible, no one wants to watch, and I totally get it because like I have like 4 or 5 guys, or 4, 5, 6 plus podcasts that I listen to, like not fans, but like, you know, beat reporters. And like when they lose, I'm like, I do not want to hear Kevin Sheehan talk tomorrow, or I do not want to hear whoever it is. Like I just do not want to hear it. So I totally get it. So yeah, you know, definitely everyone's been eating, and everyone would be eating more if they start to win a little bit more, expand that, you know, fan base a little bit more. So let's see. Dave in DC had a question. He says, do you really think we're going to start Bob McCain? He was awful during losing streak last year. Last game against the Giants does not count. Bob McCain playing better would be huge. Yeah, I agree. Playing against Jake Fromm does not count. But I think he was a little bit better than people thought last year, especially the second half of the year. First half of the year, he was awful. Like you said, he like even once they started to make adjustments, he was still bad for a little bit. But I think he can be solid. He's never going to be an elite safety, but he's like average, above average. But like I hope next year, by the end of the season, someone else is starting ahead of him. Percy Butler, preferably, because he's got a lot of potential, and that would be nice if he's there. So that would, like, my dream scenario would be Percy Butler and Cam Curl as a starting 2 safeties, and then you put I said Percy Butler and Cam Curl, Derek Forrest as the Buffalo nickel in when they need him there, and then you got Bob McCain as that slot corner, or Benjamin St-Juste as a slot corner, whatever you need to do. Like that would be really good. So like Percy Butler being ready to play free safety opens so many things up for these guys. And it's just crazy how many, like, the versatility that the team has helps you do so many different things. Like there's so many guys on this team that can play 2, 3 positions on the team. Cam Curl, I'm talking about the safety / corners. Cam Curl, Bob McCain, Derek Forrest, Percy Butler, Benjamin St-Juste, Kendall Fuller, and we'll see how they do this year. They've got to be better than what they were. They've got to be better than what they were last year, because like people were, you know, hating on the, you know, pass rush, which I definitely, you know, agree they weren't as good as, you know, we thought they would be. But it's kind of hard to be, you know, get sacks when no one is covering. You know, all the players are wide open. All the quarterback has to do is just throw it up, and he knows someone's going to be open because, you know, all our corners and safeties were getting burnt. So I think that this, you know, they'll help each other. They'll help each other for sure. I mean, door gunner, it's kind of both, though. Like, I think it's kind of both. You know, hard to pin the secondary being bad. We had no pass rush, because I think it is that they work hand in hand. But in the beginning of the season, it was much more the secondary than the pass rush, because of the miscommunication and because of how they were just putting so many. Everyone is playing in wrong spots. Everyone is playing in wrong spots. For sure. So, you know, it took him a while, but yeah, I get your point for sure. What's up, DMV Sports Zone? Appreciate you coming through. And yeah, I mean, make sure you guys go ahead and check them out. Great Washington Commanders, but also all sports, you know, DMV related, Washington related, they cover. So make sure you guys check them out. What's up, Enzo? Fat American, appreciate the $5 donation. Says, heard Jalen Hurts has been struggling a bit. Amazes me that not all Eagles fans thinks Hurts is a better QB, like an actual pocket passing QB. Like, I think Hurts is, I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to be a top 10 guy. I think Hurts, you can win with Hurts. So I do believe you can win with Hurts, because you can have a dominant running game with him. But, when you need him to pass the football, he has not shown that he can do it in those clutch moments, in those big moments, like when you're down by 10, when you're down by 14. Like some of the other guys, like Lamar, like I know whatever perception is that he can't really do it, but like I think Lamar can at times. He can, actually sling the football pretty well, even when they're down. I don't see that from Jalen Hurts. But again, like last year was really his first year fully starting. So he's got time, but I just don't think that Jalen Hurts is ever going to be super special. I think he can be solid, but like I think the Eagles traded back this year to get for another first round pick next year for a reason, because they're not fully sold on Jalen Hurts. So, and I think I would take Wentz this year over Jalen Hurts this year. I think he's better now, but I don't know. In a year or two, it could be totally different. But I don't think it's like a huge gap like some people think, but like some Washington fans think.
No, I definitely agree. Everything you said. You're gonna have a really good run game with them, but I just don't know how far. And I saw the luck thing today. But I just don't know how far he can take you, like as far as the playoffs go. Like I don't see him ever being able to take a team to a Super Bowl, because like you said, if you're ever down, Jalen Hurts just doesn't know what to do. He's best at running the ball, and he's not very accurate in the red zone as well. So if it's not a big 60-yard throw where like he throws it 20 and then Devonta Smith takes it the other 40, it's hard for them to score in the red zone again unless they run it in. And I don't think that's really consistent football for the playoffs. So I think I like the fact that he's their quarterback. First of all, he's fun to watch, even for us. And there's a certain ceiling that they have with him as quarterback. He's good enough to where they're never going to go and get an elite quarterback, but he's also he's not good enough to do that, but he's also good enough to where they're going to win enough games to where they'll always be picking later in the draft as well. So, hey, as long as I don't got to worry about the Eagles deep in the playoffs, I'm happy.
Yep. Woody, appreciate the $5 donation. Says, hail to the Commanders, Pedro. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that, guy. Appreciate that, Woody, my guy. IRL friend. Let's see. Fat American. Appreciate the $5 donation. Says, also, what's good, you too, Rico? My man, good to see you, bro. Hey, what do y'all think of the Howell gossip? Heard he's been pretty straight. The last couple days, I've heard some good things about Howell. He's had some good, connections to Deandre, who's his college teammate, and he's getting reps with the third team for the most part. So some of those late round guys, Jaquez Ezzard, I think some of the other guys as well. So your thoughts on Howell? And like, I think I was talking to Rio earlier today, and I was like, if Howell plays really well, and I love Heineke, guys, I love him. I think he's, really good backup and perfect guy for your locker room, perfect backup for us. But like if Howell does show you things this year, he makes Heineke a little bit more expendable because, Howell's on a rookie contract. Heineke's probably going to get a few mil, like maybe 3, 4, 5 mil a year as a backup. And, maybe he's going to be a free agent after this year. Maybe you let him go if you really feel good about Howell.
Yeah, and first of all, I agree. Like ultimately, you would hope that he can dethrone Taylor Heineke as a second quarterback. And to add to your point, also because he's better suited for the Scott Turner offense, like being able to throw the ball deep down the field and occasionally run the ball if you need to. And Taylor Heineke can run. I don't know why we didn't do it more with him, because as soon as Kyle Allen came in the game, we started running read option and things like that. So apparently Scott Turner doesn't feel like Taylor Heineke can or whatever. Either way, Sam Howell clearly fits his offense better than Taylor Heineke does. So ultimately, if he can gain the mental stuff, he can catch up to NFL speed, processing, reading the field, accuracy, all of the mental stuff. It's not anything physical with him. Whereas Taylor Heineke, it is more so physical. With Sam Howell, if he can catch up to all of the mental and nuanced things of the quarterback position, ultimately he is your backup quarterback and maybe even your franchise guy if Carson Wentz doesn't work out. But yeah, I expected to hear good things from Sam Howell just because of his arm strength, and we're used to seeing Taylor Heineke as the backup. So now another backup has a strong arm now, and so it's more fun to watch. But I have been hearing some things about like him making quick reads, him stepping up in the pocket, making tight window throws. It's not just a big arm. It's like also some pro style quarterback stuff going on as well, where it seems like he's a little bit further ahead in his development. I mean, of course, maybe I don't think he's ready to start a regular season game right now, but the fact that he's further ahead mentally than we expected does have me very optimistic about him. And I can't wait for the preseason. He's one of my 3 most exciting players for me to watch in the preseason because I think he's going to ball out, especially against other teams' backups.
Yeah, and I think I saw. Yeah, sorry, my thing is way behind, so I was lagging behind. But I think I saw Sam Howell for Madden. He was top 10 in throw power, which is I wouldn't put him there, like ahead of some of these guys. But he does have a really good arm, definitely better than Heineke. So right now, I definitely think he should be the third guy. Like Heineke, 100% deserves to be the backup right now, because like we're trying to win this year. So like if Wentz goes down, you want to give it to a guy who knows the offense really, really well. Might not suit him the best, but he knows it. The teammates know him. They got good chemistry with him, and he can play well for stretches. But how, we don't know yet, and it'll be good for him to be in that system for a little while before he actually gets some game action. Fat American says, and I appreciate the noise. She says, you guys are going to the practice at FedEx Field. Unfortunately, I am not. I did get tickets, but see that's the thing with I'm not able to go. So if anyone does, I think they had enough tickets where you're still able to get them. But if anyone isn't able to get them, I think I've got 4 tickets. So just let me know if anyone needs them. But yeah, I think that should be fun. I think it's basically going to be like a little bit better version of a training camp. It's just that you got to go all the way to Landover. Let's see. And yeah, Philip, your alma mater, and you got that Deandre Brown, Sam Howell connection. I forgot who else they got back there that, don't they have a pretty good receiver coming out soon? The UNC or no? I can't remember.
I don't even know.
I don't follow UNC that much, but I think I remember
I
they have a pretty good receiver coming out. But yeah, Deandre Brown is if Sam Howell does ever play, then you know where he's going to be looking a lot to Sam Howell or to Deandre Brown. Okay,
Yes,
Downs.
sir.
I forgot. I didn't know the name, but I knew they had a good receiver coming out. Bad American, appreciate another donation. Does Wentz win us 2 or 3 more games in 2021? So I know people are gonna hate on me for this, but like my current record prediction is 9-8. It's like I've been like teetering between 9-8 and 10-7 for a long time. I just thought by this point we would get a linebacker, another linebacker like AJ Klein or someone like just as an insurance policy, Alexander Johnson. They haven't, and I think that concerns me because Cole Holcomb is a beast. We know what he can. He's not elite, but he's a good linebacker for you. And then Jamin Davis, we're hoping he can be better this year. We don't know though. We don't know. He could, be just a little bit better than last year, and that isn't enough. He's still, if he's a little bit better than last year, he's still definitely a below average linebacker. So I don't know. I think Wentz will definitely help us this year, but I don't know if we're going to get to 10 wins. I think 9 wins, though, for sure. What do you think? What's your current record prediction? Obviously, things change with signings and everything.
Yeah, so I'm definitely closer to the 10-win side because I'm even ignoring adding Jahan, Cole Turner, Carson Wentz, and all of these guys. We have a better kicker now. And a kicker alone lost us like 2 games technically last year. So I just feel like we're just so much better in a lot of different ways.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Chris Blewett, man. Dustin Hopkins, then Chris Blewett. Then we finally found an answer in Joey Sly. Then he wanted to go try to make a tackle on a block kick. So then he got hurt. Then we had to go to our 4th kicker, who actually ended up being pretty good. Brian Johnson was better than Chris Blewett and Dustin Hopkins. And I do feel like Joey Sly can be a franchise kicker for us. So, yeah, I'm definitely very optimistic. I'm like 10-7. I can see us going 11-6. Again, just even outside of Carson Wentz. And I think Carson Wentz last year, it's kind of complicated because Taylor Heineke's safer, whereas Carson Wentz is going to take more risks. So maybe we lose a game that Taylor Heineke won because Carson Wentz is trying to do too much. But at the same time, some of those games, especially the Packers game where we couldn't score in the red zone, I think we win that game with Carson Wentz. So I think he would have equaled out to 2-3 more wins last season for sure.
Okay, he meant for last season. I was taking it as this season. But last season, so I'm trying to think about the close games we lost. I mean, the Saints game we lost because our defense was just terrible communication wise. The Hail Mary, the landing, like the 50+ yard touchdown, but also Heineke was not good in that game. So I think Wentz probably gets us that win. Not sure. I think the Broncos game, Heineke was terrible. Wentz gets us that win, but blew it for sure. So that's 2 wins right there. And then any other games, I'm trying to think. Maybe one of the Eagles. Okay, yeah, Eagles. One of the 2 Eagles games for sure. We lost by like 10
Blaine
games.
Gabbert.
Yeah, with Garrett Gilbert, and then we lost by like
Blaine Gabbert,
4. We lost by like 4 with Heineke at the end where he threw a pick in the red zone with still our team gutted. So I think with Wentz last year, we probably win 3+ more games. And yeah, Hopkins ended up going 30 and 34 or 30 for 34 last year. And I mean, that's just how it works with Washington kickers. They
maybe he didn't like
and
us.
and they end up being, pretty good. But Hopkins, the biggest reason, why I didn't like him is that like he would make the kicks like in the middle of the game, but like the big kicks you need him to make, he just wouldn't make it. And like every time he went up for a kick, didn't matter what it was, you were a little nervous. You were not just chill. I mean, almost no kickers besides a few like Tucker, Carlson, and a few others, like where you're feeling good when they're kicking. But with Hopkins, I never ever felt good about it. I never felt. I almost was like the opposite. Like I was like, okay, this is an easy kick. He's gonna miss it, and then it was like a 47-yarder in the win. I'm like, okay, he's gonna make it, and that ended up happening.
Yeah.
But the Packers one is definitely one that they could have won, but I feel like the Packers, took their foot off the gas for a little bit, and that allowed us to come back a little bit. But yeah, Heineke, man, I will never. And yeah, your tweet, you put it out there. I will never forget. That was one of the most like frustrating things I ever watched when Heineke just went down at the one. Like I think it was a stupid rule. Like I think the touchdown should have counted. And I understand the rule, like by definition, he did not get a touchdown. I just think it's stupid. But what he did, I do not understand why he did it because he wasn't getting hit. Let's keep it real. He wasn't getting hit. That, like so many things Heineke did last year pissed me off. And the same thing, like he was so good at evading sacks. And it's like, bro, you evade the sack, throw it away. But no, he would just try to get a little bit longer. And he would either get sacked, get stripped, or just throw it up and get picked. So, Heineke saved the offensive line from from sacks this year, but also cost him some for sure. So I think Wentz will definitely help us out this year and would have helped us out last year for sure. But this year with the easier schedule, like playoffs or bust. It's playoffs or bust because I don't think there's no chance unless they get the biggest injury bug ever. Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But there's no chance to go 3-13 or 3-14 stuff like that. But I'd much rather have that than if they win 7, 8 games this year. I don't know what I'm gonna do. That is the worst case scenario.
Because I hate being average.
Exactly. And last year is a little bit different because at least the quarterback class wasn't you weren't missing out. We weren't missing out on anyone special, or at least we don't know yet, But this year, you got Bryce Love, CJ Stroud. You got, I don't like Spencer Rattler, but there's people that like him. And then what's the Caleb Williams? Is he coming out this year? Or is he next year?
The one that transferred to USC. I'm not sure. I think it may be next year, but I know there's 3 other names even outside of the ones you just named that people are raving about. They're it's 6 or 7 of them that might be good.
Yeah, so I mean, this quarterback class is real. Yeah, there's other guys as well. People mentioned Slovis. I do not like him at all. Where is he right now? Do you know?
Nah, I lost track of that. I
Because
do
he
not
was at
remember.
USC, but
Yeah.
this year is not the year to go 7-10, 8-9. Do not go 7-10, 8-9, because you're going to be screwed. There's some teams with 2 first-round picks this year. It's going to be hard to trade up. Meryl Garrett, appreciate the $2 donation. Been a supporter of the channel for a long time. He says, any word on William Bradley King? Honestly, haven't heard much about William Bradley King, Casey Toohill, Shaq. I've heard a couple things about Shaka Toney. Not much about William Bradley King. I think I heard some good things. I saw some tweets about him in OTAs and minicamp, but nothing so far in training camp. But I'll keep my eye out for that if anything happens. But you, Rico, hear anything about that?
Nah, I haven't heard anything. It's been James Smith-Williams basically taking the spot of Chase Young while Chase Young's out. And I've heard some things about Shaka Toney, but everybody else I haven't really heard much of either.
Yeah, last year I was thinking William Bradley King would make it. He didn't. Shaka Toney made it over him, but they're all battling for spot. And if Chase Young's out on IR or pup to start the season, that's another guy that gets a nod. I think they need to add a veteran as well. Appreciate that donation, Enzo, my brother right there. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that donation. Appreciate that. Appreciate all the support from everyone in the chat today. I think we're gonna wrap it up, Rico. Man, it was great having you on. I appreciate you saving the stream at the beginning when my computer crashed. You clutched up there for sure. And yeah, appreciate everyone in the chat. Let's see, Johnny Boy 26, Enzo, Fat American, Richard, Meryl Garrett, David DC, Woody, Bonita, Philip. Let's see, DZ, Tay, all you guys. Appreciate you guys for coming through. Door Gunner, and yeah, I think it's gonna be. I'm excited. We got one last donation. Excited for the next couple weeks of training camp. Next week we got some pads on, so we're gonna get some more content. Contact. I think Tuesday is the day, so that's when the real stuff starts. He says, "What vibes are you getting about this season overall?" I feel like there's a sneaky buzz out there. Cautiously optimistic. Yes, for me, cautiously optimistic for sure. I think this team's a little bit better than it was last year. I don't think it's a ton better because, this team, when they were healthy and when they were playing guys right, this team was good last year. It was very slow, small stretch, like 6 games. The games before the, 4-game win streak and then the 4-game win streak, they were playing good football. But they just really never had a healthy team last year, and they had a really tough schedule. This year, hopefully they can stay healthy, got a better QB, easier schedule. So I think it's a very solid chance I would be very surprised if they don't win 8+ games. And eight isn't, obviously what you want. I'm really between 9 and 10. And depending if they sign a linebacker or not, if they sign even someone slightly better than David Mayo, I'll put them to 10. I do not like David Mayo, man. So that's just my thought right there. But man, appreciate you, Fat American, all the donations today. I appreciate everyone for coming through. Make sure you guys sub up to Rico, putting out great content. Well, yeah, you posted a couple videos out today, some highlights, some recap of training camp, and then I forgot the last one, something about Terry, and yeah, plug that.
Yeah, Terry said something to the extent of that us trading for Carson Wentz was one of the main reasons he resigned here. And I don't know how true that is, and I talk about that in my video. But hey, man, I mean, if Carson Wentz even had a slight anything to do with Terry McLaurin getting signed here, I appreciate him. I'm thankful.
Yep, for sure. Make sure you guys check that out. First link in the description to his channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and peace.
Yes, sir.